Hello, Frank. I'm playing the third of episode 207 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier Kitty Pryde Locky and Magic podcast. And today we are going to review Age of Revelation titles: Unbreakable X-Men 3, Sinister 6 3, Iron and Frost 3, and Longshots 3, and then Ultimate Wolverine 12. And then very, very quickly, New Avengers 7. Um, so Unbreakable X-Men 3, this is definitely a top tier Age of Revelation title. I love that we got a present day scene that I can only imagine stays canon after the event. I love these outliers, and if Calicchio and Ember were in the first issue of the mini, I would have ranked the mini higher on my list initially. We see the outliers taking a vow to stop Shuvak Rock, no matter the cost. I also love seeing the original Calicchio design and how it hasn't come a long way X years later, but it has a more mature design. Poor Becca, her mother really did a number on her, putting the fear of goblin babies being put inside her. I mean, no one should want goblin babies inside them unless it's completely consensual, of course. It's always better that way. Uh, Becca's narration box hints that Ember is spooked by Shuvakrak. It's Suvakrak. Shuvakrak? And the only thing that he hates is So that's very interesting. I wonder if it's related to Becca's mother. Shuvarak was alone and in prison for centuries, and now that she's free, she wants to be alone, completely alone in the world above. Unbreakable X-Men goes to Atlantis. Apparently, Becca can turn Ember into a good seahorsey spirit boy, so that's interesting. Her mutant power is very undefined. I do love this seahorse design for Ember. I'm such a sucker for a mutant with a animal companion. Where's my X books, Marvel? My X Pets book. Neighbor shows up with a rogue-inspired white streak in his hair. Gambit decides he's gonna make his final act of battle the King of Atlantis. He sees Becca and has a nice narration box about how Rogue and him consider her like a daughter, which has a very wonderful payoff later when Becca stands up against Neighbor saying Gambit is her father. This is such a good comic, yo. Poor Gail Simone has to address the Rogue Green and Rogue Red of it all, so it isn't just canon to Rogue Storm. I like the idea of Gambit viewing them as the rogue who loves him and the one who hates him. That makes sense from his perspective. For some reason, now that they are at the sea floor of Atlantis, Becca turns Ember back to his proper horse form. He probably prefers this form. Gambit starts fighting Namor, even getting an early advantage. He is blind, but he can hear Namor's ankle wings flapping, which is a cute detail. He even narrates to himself Imperious X, which is very adorable. Namor's shock wears off rather quickly and starts beating Gambit. We even get the payoff of the Shao Durang, Dragon of Asgard, uncanny subplot, as he wasn't going to deal with Shuvakrak, but he'll mess around with Namor for a bit. Death Dream has a plan to combat her, but isn't sure about the ethics of it. They all agree it is for the best, and a very dramatic page turn. Galactus Rogue shows up, so seeing his dead body in the ocean was a misdirect. She defeats Shuvakrak easily, and Jitter ensures that Gambit survives his fight with Namor. Rogue shrinks in size, and all is right in the world. Hopefully, they get a few pages in Age of Revelation finale, but if not, this feels like a proper end. Sinister 6 3. This comic goes against every expectation. We pick up where we left off. Revelation is choir serves, including the Becca, with no hint of Kitty Pryde missed. I love how this comic seems to only serve the purpose to get Revelation over, to use wrestling terms. He and his crew are not to be messed with. They immediately kill Lady Phantom X. Havoc reveals that the X virus hurts mutants as well. I like how all the mutants who were affected with the X virus were found by Sinister, so just them existing is proof of that. Black Cat panics, which I don't love initially, but they kill her, so that isn't great either. Domino's tired of seeing all the death visions and is killed. She seems more exhausted by everything and just lets it happen. Havoc realizes he's not getting out of here and gives Venom the flash drive to get going. So I start thinking, well, this whole adventure is going to get summarized in a handy narration box in Age of Revelation finale. Havoc lets loose, which barely hurts Revelation crew, and Havoc has now gone full red crystal. Venom shows up to Sinister, who's immediately knows his five are gone. I start thinking about how poor Chris is all alone in the world now, and Sinister's probably going to just throw him out in the next garbage cycle, which is probably a Wednesday. Turns out Sinister doesn't know everything as we get the Venom reveal that Polaris was Venom the entire time. Hence the big metal collar they had on. So Chris is not alone now. He has his mother, which is the way to go. Polaris slays Sinister and breaks the bad dad news to Chris, but at least they are together. Issue ends with Alex still a Crystal, and I doubt Polaris is going to be relaying that X virus information to anyone. I do question what was the plot of this mission, as Alex forming crystals is enough proof, plus Domino's further mutation. The X virus was affecting mutants, so even go on this mission for even harder proof. This is a lot like Cloak or Dagger. I'm not sure why this mini exists, but it does tell a good story, so that's clearly why. But does it have any lasting effects? Does anything? I'll say this ends in a higher mid tier. Iron and Frost 3. I suppose we were never promised a romance comic, so my expectations are entirely on me. We get to see how Landslide had a bad birth dad, but a good adoptive dad, which is the direction one wants in this situation. Rhodey is super dead, skeleton dead. She starts attacking Iron King. To combat her both physically and emotionally, it summons the War Machine armor. In an odd twist, this armor is powered by Tony Stark, or at least his last AI program. Well, his other AI programs, Iron Stark is the current AI. Emma pilots the War Machine armor so that her and Tony AI can chat. He reveals the plan is to send a file to present day Tony to warn him about the Age of Revelation. Landslide doesn't believe that will work. It is cool that we get an Iron Man versus War Machine visual. It isn't much of a fight as they are pretty much hugging it out like Harry Potter and Voldemort. Emma gets ghost flesh, as she needs her telepathy powers to completely erase the Iron King AI. The War Machine shoot is keeping her alive for long enough as it's needed. I do not love that Emma's final story X years later is dying to save Iron Man's legacy or whatever is happening here. I do like how she's dying to keep at least one child alive. That's classic Emma. We do learn that Iron King is being empowered by a micro firestar, so that isn't great. She will get justice one day, as long as it isn't justice with a cap J. We do learn that Iron King is being empowered. Oh no. As we look back in time, all the way to X years before Revelation, we get the panel of Marrow stabbing Emma. So that's at least one Marrow appearance in a comic this week. Do we see? We do see in the present day, Tony gets the file from the future. Uh, is Kevin Scott even writing more Iron Man? Odd to set that subplot up, as I doubt it'll be handled in finale. I know Joshua Williamson's writing the relaunch ongoing of Legend Carmen Carnero, so that's all of my future Iron Man knowledge I'm aware of. I should mention that Mara's on the loading screen, the latest Marvel Snap season, before we ideally get the Dragon season in January. We should have Lockheed in it if the data miners are correct. I've been buying every Kitty Pryde and Magic card that comes to the shop, so it feels good to be catching up on everything I've missed in a year, or maybe 2 years. I just play for the resources. I don't mind the losses, and I get wins, so I like playing again. Snap will get my money once I reach that Lockheed items of the Battle Pass. Um, so Iron and Frost, not the comic I wanted or feel like I deserve. At least we know that Emma dies in AOR, and I doubt it'll get addressed in finale, unless she's mentioned the list of names who we have lost. And so I guess in the present day, it's going to be Beast, Scott, and Iron Man who are aware of the ramifications of the Age of Revelation. But like, is it going to be talked about once we're one issue past it in the Shadows of Tomorrow? Longshots 3. This issue completely redeemed the miniseries for me. Issue opens with Longshot giving a critique of the series thus far that I so hard relate to. The comic is mostly a Wonder Man who I don't care for and Hellcat who I do care for. And it took two writers to make this comic. Oh, Longshot, you are dead on. Still no Shadow Kitty X Baby, so that is disappointing. We catch up with Bishop watching the previous issue. He comments, I have to get better material. First Marauders, now this. Which is funny as Jerry Duggan wrote Marauders and co-wrote this, but honestly, I love Marauders. Still my favorite Krakoa series. Not really sure how another series will ever top it, but one never knows. Also, it was the best use of Bishop in like forever. Apparently, this miniseries is a backdoor pilot for an upcoming Wonder Man and Hellcat series that I am only half interested in, but it's very meta. Issue ends with baby versions of Wonder Man and Hellcat, so that's very cute. Uh, Ultimate Wolverine 12 issue opens with Wolverine on his way to confront Dr. Alanya Pastrovich, who made him the Winter Soldier. Remember how we started this miniseries or ongoing series? Uh, my main problem with this issue is that he has this half mask on the left side, and I'm not even sure how it's still hanging on. His mask, I mean, is a half mask, so it wouldn't come off with any real motion. I don't know. It took me out of the beginning of the issue. He arrives, kills the male scientist, like, sure. She agrees to take him to the voice he heard in his head. She has to repeat a phaser and lock the electronic door. Wouldn't there be a code that opens the door but alerts higher powers that, hey, I'm being forced to open this door against my will? That's the type of security system I want to see. Wolverine has to fight Cyclops' head and a Sentinel belly enemy. This comic is weird. I feel like Ultimate Sprite wasn't dead. Wouldn't be so negative about it, but also the series is ending next issue and the universe soon after. He's taken a Jean Grey, who I would have sworn her brain was removed, but nice Blue Sky friends reminded me the brain that was behind her was actually Xavier's brain. Um, so she's just mostly shaken up here. Um, so yeah, so Jean's alive. Wolverine smells brimstone as we see Magic has slain Dr. Prostovich. So we're just cleaning up bad guys now. I like Colossus fighting Wolverine. We rarely see these two fight each other, probably as it wouldn't be a long fight. Magic gets into as we see the bad Rasputin siblings turn this into a handicap match. Does wrestling still call it that? They can't, right? A 2-on-1 match? More words, but it sounds better. Jean has come into her own and melts Colossus's brain and then his entire body. Jean says, "Go, flee, child." And Magic responds, "I go, witch. For my brother, I go. But this is not Tova." Wolverine holds Jean, which is energy. I'm just over in any universe. And yes, his half mask is still on. We see that your rate, Russia must have heard Iron Lad's speech as they are rising up. I believe the next issue is the last, and we'll get into Endgame and then Armageddon. And then, real quick, if you're reading New Avengers only for Laura Kinney content, issue 7 has a very cute moment where Reed Richards asks Bucky a question. He doesn't respond quickly, so Laura asks if she was supposed to talk. It is very cute. Also, great Winter Widow content. Well, until those last pages, but that's very much their relationship. I skimmed Spider-Man Wolverine 8 and 2099 The End 1, and I do regret pre-ordering 2099 The End, but Walker D will end up with that issue. Spider-Man Wolverine 8 has a few fun hero combos like Spider Hulk and Psy Hulk and Name Thor and Ultron Fist. Um, well, Psylocke was the fun part, whereas She-Hulk and Psylocke. And then Name Thor is Namer and Thor, so that's a fun combo. Ultron Fist was literally just Ultron with an Iron Man fist, so seems like one good one. And then Name Thor is just a concept. So the next week we get Age of Apocalypse's further final issues of Book of Revelation 3, Last Wolverine 3, Omega Kids 3, Radioactive Spider-Man 3, Rogue Storm 3, And then counter programming of Marvel Rivals Ignite in color number one, Avengers 33, Battle World 4, Strange Tales 4. So, I don't know. Things are just ending before January. Um, and then so our Age of Revelation rankings, the top tier would be Book of Revelation, Expatriate X-Men, Unbreakable X-Men 3, which is concluded, Amazing X-Men Binary. And then the mid tier would be The Last Wolverine, Undeadpool, Omega Kids, X Avengers, Overture, Laura Kinney Sabretooth 3, Radioactive Spider-Man, Sinister 6 3, Cloak or Dagger. And then the bottom would be Longshots 3, Iron and Frost 3, Rogue Storm, Age of Revelation, World Revelation, and Age of Revelation Infinity 4. And so that, everyone, was episode 207. Thank you so much for listening or watching on YouTube. You can follow me on my socials at Jackal SII on TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, Twitter, podcast socials SNFWM. And thank you everyone for listening, and I will talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.